Also, at this point, it's worth mentioning that my Saturn is in Aries, so my tendency will probably be to oversimplify things. So, per usual, take anything I say with a grain of salt. Um, Libra. So Saturn in Libra. With Libra, we're talking about balance, we're talking about diplomacy, we're talking about beauty and harmony, and we're talking about balance and equality in relationships. Equity. Both. Um, so with Saturn, there's a trial and error process of seeing how those things work for you. And so part of that is updating the data set. So your parents have, and guardians have the relationship that they have. You get the examples of relationships in media, in people around you, and there's an assumption that, like, okay, that's just how it is. That's one category, right? Saturn in Libra asks that you try those things out for yourself, that you take a fresh perspective and see if you can do it differently, if just if the examples you've been given are true for you, because we are all so unique and individual, and it's a let me try it myself kind of planet. It's true of all of the other categories of Libra qualities too. So it's probably working on codependency, figuring out how to be an advocate and to be diplomatic when it's appropriate, and when to, like, draw firm boundaries between you and another person when it's not appropriate, to try to find balance. And finding ways to maintain your peace. And that's going to look different than, maybe a little similar, a little different than what it meant for your parents or for your guardians. The consequence of not doing it is the way the download popped into my head is dating your dad. That's very, very hetero of me to assume. But yeah, of dating a parental figure. And, like, I think we all do it a little bit, but dating the good, the bad, the ugly carbon copy of a parent who, I don't know, probably could use some work, who can't, and we're all human. But the lack of reflection will just have you repeating a pattern and getting hit over the head again and again and again until you choose a different way. And your version of standing on the soapbox without learning anything is trying to give other people relationship advice that will just be kind of shitty without you trying it out yourself. Or avoiding relationships altogether, which also, I'm being so mean today, is not a good plan. It's not a good plan. You have to learn, right? Okay. My gecko's looking at me. Saturn in Virgo qualities. We're talking about being detail-oriented. We're talking about being precise. Those are the same things, Biddy. We're talking about sorting through data and finding patterns. We're talking about being a healer, being a fixer, being a workshopper, an editor type. And, like, using your Virgo sensitivities and sensibilities to kind of find truth and correct things and make things better. It's improvement through experimentation. Ooh. I think for Saturn here, you're being asked to replace your data set, most likely, because what we can do is walk through life with assumptions and all the indoctrination from any source, you name it, school, parents, society, media, whatever, and not checking those biases. And then your data set is biased. Not that it can ever be completely unbiased, but it's biased and comes with all the host of isms that society has. So there's racism in there, there's white supremacy, there's sexism. The data set is just incomplete, biased. Yeah. And kind of asks that you self-reflect and use those Virgo skills to check your biases, check your data set, and learn as much about the world as you can and try it out. And then when you're presented with new information, replace the old information and keep doing this until you die. I'm on one today. If you don't, it's the same soapbox thing. You're on your soapbox and you're preaching about what's right and how other people should do things, and you're using all of that Virgo investigation and critical eye to kind of say nothing. Okay. I feel okay roasting you because I think you can handle it. Yeah. Saturn in... Doing the signs backwards is hard. Saturn in Leo. Okay, so for Leo, we're talking about your self-expression. We're talking about your desire to shine, to take up space. We're talking about your warmth, your presence, your life force, the desire to be fun and keep the fun going and be playful and youthful. Saturn in Leo is asking you to test out ways that you can remain playful and still get your stuff done. This one, for some reason, feels like, I mean, it's maturity, of course, but like not letting yourself get away with being immature in ways that other adults have let you get away with. So like your parents let some of your behavior slide because they love you and they are biased and think you're great. You probably are, but there's also areas that you can improve on, and it's not letting yourself too much slack where you think you're perfect and are God's gift to earth and aren't trying to improve or be more self-reflective or let other people shine too. The other side of that is workshopping your creativity and just making improvements to your natural gifts, your natural light, your natural playfulness, just maturing it as you do, and holding yourself to a higher standard. If you don't, I don't know, I feel like I won't say curse, that's too extreme. The consequence of you don't is that you are like a child actor who has all of this talent but is propped up by other people who take on the responsibility for you. And so, well, child actors have it hard in their own way, but once they become adults, there's just a lack of maturity there if they don't intentionally work on it. So you got to intentionally work on it or you'll look like a child. There are worse things to be, but, you want to feel grown. Okay. Saturn in Cancer. For Cancer, we're talking about the desire to nurture, being protective, being intuitive, exploring things in a roundabout way because Cancers move like crabs. The desire to nurture, take care of, understand emotions, connect emotionally with other people, to parent. Saturn in Cancer might be literally becoming a parent during that Saturn return, and kind of learning the ways that you were nurtured that work for you, that don't, what you want to carry on for the next generation. If it's not literal parenting, then it's still moving through parenting your inner child and being like, okay, what did my childhood lack and how can I give it to myself now? And what things did my parents teach me, or bestow on me that works and what doesn't. It's kind of combing through those things and figuring it out and processing all the emotions related. You can be mad, you can be sad, you can be whatever comes up, but moving through those things so that you do not become the unpracticed Saturn in Cancer, which is just like resentful and stuck. Because Cancer can be stuck in the past. So healing the past by living for the present. Wow, Betty. But I mean that, like, improving things now. You cannot change the past. Oh well. Move through the feelings accordingly, because that's what you need to do. And live in a way that makes sense for you today. Nurture yourself in a way that makes sense for adult you. But don't stay mad and stuck. Saturn in Gemini. We're talking about Gemini's chattiness, desire to learn. We're talking about the exploratory nature of Gemini. We're talking about duality. We're talking about friendship. We're talking about being multifaceted. So Saturn in Gemini asks you to, I like this. It asks you to try on the different hats of your personality and figure out which ones are from childhood and need to stay there, and which ones get to come with you into adulthood. And if they need to stay in childhood, are there qualities or little tidbits, little nuggets of wisdom you can take with you, or does it all need to be scrapped? And part of this is just figuring out who you are and how you want to relate to people in a more mature way. So cutting down on the gossiping, trying to be as genuine as you can be with various groups various circles that you run in, and being proud of being multifaceted and maturing that energy and making sure it works for you. I think the challenge of mutable signs, so we're talking about Gemini, we're talking about Virgo, Sag, Pisces, is that you know what it's like to be, we all do, you're just hyper aware of it. We all know what it's like to be a spirit in a body. It's weird. We clearly are more than can fit in these bodies. If you believe in multiple lifetimes, there's like lifetimes of wisdom kind of floating around us. Our souls are bigger than what can fit in our body, or like their experience, their knowledge, their being is more than can be expressed in one body. And so with mutable signs, there's that awareness all the time. And to be asked to be one thing all the time in this one body is just stupid to ask that of a mutable sign. Stupid to ask that of anyone, but consistency of personality and character, like, no. Let yourself shine in the multiple ways. That's important. Just do it with high integrity and you're fine. I'm getting defensive. The consequence for not is just appearing childish. It's, I don't know, not having high quality friends because you're not being honest about who you are. Saturn in Taurus, we are talking about Taurus qualities, so wanting to make things last. We're talking about wanting to be in our bodies and to be sensual and to really experience the richness of being alive and being in a body, being here now. It's being present and grounded and enjoying creative pursuits, enjoying the fruits of your labor, those sorts of things. With Saturn in Taurus, you are asked to experiment with, the way my brain just said it was your own hedonism, but to figure out where you can delight in the pleasures and where you need to hold yourself back or pace it out, or where you're overindulging and where we can get into like addictive behavior or stuck behavior. Because Taurus doesn't half-ass anything, they whole-ass all of the things. So if you're going to give yourself completely over to something, make sure it's healthy. Yeah. Indulge, have limits, blah, blah, blah. Boring advice from Biddy. The consequences of not doing that are getting stuck and struggling primarily. With the more creative side of Taurus, you know, it just lets you mature those skills. So if you're good at cooking, be great at cooking. Or like continue to learn and develop because you can. Why not? Let's try it. If it's music or other creative Venusian pursuits, to improve and keep at it. And even if you're not the best on the planet, who gives a fuck? Do it because it's fun to improve and it's fun to practice and it's fun to be here trying stuff. What you don't want is to become grumpy that the world doesn't work the way you want it to work, because we're all with you on that. But to be grumpy and to not try anything because you're grumpy that it doesn't work the way you'd like it to work. Like, you still have to participate. Now I'm lecturing you, sorry. All right, last one. Thank you for sticking with me on this. Saturn and Aries, we are talking about Aries energy. We're talking about independence and leadership and being courageous and needing to expel physical energy, because we're all little meatheads a little bit. It's about trusting your instincts and learning to be consistent. Well, that's the Saturn piece. So the Saturn piece is experimentation around how we apply effort and when it's time to give up or to ration out our energy, because we will kind of slam ourselves into the wall over and over and over again. And you can't, there are things you can bludgeon. There are problems that you can solve by like forcing something to work. And I mean this about like pushing yourself. This doesn't involve other people. Like, you can, this is my own example, you can stay up all night trying to learn how to do this math problem. You can cry about it and you cannot give up because you just need to finish the thing. That's me bludgeoning something. But there's other ways that we can mature that energy. So you could, like, if you're frustrated and you can't solve something, you could walk away. You could go on a little walk. You could have a snack. You could take a break. You could ask for help. Not things that come naturally to Aries. It's more to smash your head into the wall until the wall disappears, which it's going to take a while. Also, then you won't have a wall. What's your next plan? But it's taking that Aries Ram strength and applying it more efficiently. It's also asking for help because of the independent streak of Aries, and it's, learning to be more consistent and being more consistent about all of the things that help you listen to yourself and your instincts and take better care of yourself. Because crash burnout cycles don't make sense long term. They just don't. And even though that's the example that our parents give us and that society gives us, we can do better by trying our own ways of doing things. The consequence for not doing those things is staying in those burnout cycles, is having anger problems and being explosive and being childish. Okay, I hope everyone learned something. Let me know if you have questions or tell me about your experience of your Saturn placement, because I am but one biddy and I can only do things through my perspective, so I'd love to hear yours. All right.